Part 1. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 1. Dong. The bells of the 9 peaks of Juyan sect rang loudly, like a huge bell, and the sound waves spread out and rolled away. This is the call of the peak master. Hearing the sound, the disciples in the peak did not dare to delay and ran to the main hall of Zhifeng as soon as possible. The main hall is located on the top of Zhifeng, above the clouds. Its architecture is magnificent and the fairy air is curling. After entering the hall, all the disciples were stunned. I saw a man in black standing in the huge hall. The man's figure is like a sword, and his facial features are sharp. His eyes are like stars, his eyebrows are handsome, and he is as beautiful as a crown of jade. A black dress and black hair, coupled with the slightly raised corners of his mouth, a smile that seems to be a smile, gives people a sense of unruly. Originally such a handsome guy, it is inevitable that people will feel friendly. But when all the disciples saw the man's face clearly, they couldn't help but look down at the ground, detour, and finally stand on both sides. After a while, the red dress fluttered and the fragrance filled the air. The head of Zhifeng Peak, Xuanhuan, arrived. She sat high in the hall, and her face, which looked like a fairy, was full of frost. It seems that the eldest brother has caused trouble again. Seeing this situation, the disciples thought in unison. As expected. After a short silence, Xuanhuan opened her red lips and her cold voice spread throughout the hall. Zhang Chen. You are unworthy of being the senior brother of Zhifeng. Second junior brother just saw that you didn't salute, but you beat him seriously. Third junior sister accidentally got the Yulong spiritual grass, which could have helped her break through the bottleneck, but you took it away by force. Fourth junior brother is dull, and as the senior brother, you don't care about him, but you actually laughed at him in public for fun. Such evil deeds are simply too numerous to list. That's fine. As the senior brother of Zhifeng, you are not completely without merit. But Lianyu just entered the sect, with the appearance of a female emperor. She is the hope of Zhifeng, and even the entire Juyan sect. As the senior brother, you should have taken good care of her. How could you? How could you disregard propriety and shame and do that peeping thing in the name of delivering medicine? Wow! After these words fell, the elders and disciples were instantly in an uproar. Peeping. And the target is Zhang Lianyu, who has the appearance of an empress? At the same time, everyone's eyes were all cast on the black-clothed man named Zhang Chen, with admiration and speechlessness in their hearts. What they admired was Zhang Lianyu tempered her body at the age of 3, absorbed her spirit at the age of 7, broke through the Yuandan at the age of 15, and joined Juyan sect for only more than a month, but she had already tempered the Yuandan and entered the Rendan realm. With such talent, even the geniuses can't catch up. She is definitely the appearance of an empress. In addition, Zhang Lianyu's appearance is so beautiful that it can make everything pale in comparison and all flowers dim. Especially those slender feet, which are even more unforgettable. Zhang Chen, their senior brother of Zhifeng. He did something that all male disciples wanted to do but didn't dare to do. And what was speechless was Zhang Lianyu was regarded as a treasure by the entire Juyan section. The consequences of offending her can be known with toes. Thinking of this, all the elders and disciples showed a gloating expression again. Zhang Chen's harsh criticism of his junior brother, teasing his junior sister, and robbing others by force have already angered the heavens and the people. If it weren't for the fact that the peak master Xuanhuan had always been biased, he would have been abolished and expelled from the sect. Zhang Chen, do you admit all these crimes? Xuanhuan said with her beautiful eyes after sighing softly. Although her expression was stern and her voice was cold. But from her eyes, Zhang Chen saw disappointment and heartache. Alas! Zhang Chen sighed in his heart. These things were indeed done by him, without any misunderstanding, and he did disappoint Xuanhuan. But all this was helpless. The 10th life. This is the 10th life of crossing. Repeated 10th life. When Zhang Chen crossed for the first time, he knew that this was a book, and he crossed into a fantasy world, and he was the villain in it. In the absence of a system and a golden finger, the villain is just cannon fodder, and exists to slap the protagonist in the face. Such an ending, Zhang Chen naturally did not want. Therefore, he wanted to change the plot and become an upright and respected senior brother. But things did not go as he wished. No matter how he cared for his junior brothers and sisters. No matter how hard he practiced and adhered to the right path. The ending could not escape the word villain. Zhang Chen remembered it clearly. First life. The dull fourth junior brother encountered a bottleneck in his breakthrough and almost went astray. He broke into the secret realm alone, and finally found the help of heaven and earth treasures after several life and death. But just after leaving the secret realm, he was attacked by the enemy and fell into a coma. Coincidentally, at this time, the protagonist appeared, defeated the enemy effortlessly, took back the heaven and earth treasures, and helped the fourth junior brother break through. Therefore, the fourth junior brother was grateful to the protagonist. And he became a villain who was indifferent to his junior brothers. Second life. In order to change the second junior brother's prejudice against him, he treated him gently and took good care of him. When the second junior brother was chased by his enemies, it was him. One man, one sword, protecting him for 100 days. When the second junior brother was trapped in love, it was him. He accompanied him to drink and sing, and watched the prosperity of 1,000 days. When the second junior brother's Xuanhuan was broken and his Tao foundation collapsed, it was still him. He took the source of the Dan and helped him reshape the Xuanhuan, but his Tao foundation was cracked and he almost couldn't make any further progress in his life. But everything, it couldn't compare to the protagonist's words, "The eldest brother is so good to you, because he cares about the innate Tao bone in your body." The third life. The third junior sister has mediocre qualifications but extraordinary luck. Not only does she often come across natural treasures, she also encounters constant adventures. She is timid and simple-minded, and is often deceived by others. Therefore, Zhang Chen had to follow her all the time to help her block all malicious intentions. But helpless. Various coincidences, misunderstandings, and the protagonist's words, the senior brother is clearly protecting, but actually looking for opportunities to rob, the trust between the two was shattered. The fourth life. The fifth junior sister, Zhang Lianyu, became a disciple. Affected by her own martial arts, she would sometimes feel cold in her bones and suffer endlessly. Zhang Chen couldn't bear it, so he spent 100 days refining elixirs at the elixir peak with his meager cultivation before he got a pill that could suppress the cold poison. I wanted to send the elixir to Zhang Lianyu quickly, but after entering the house, I found that he was taking a bath. In the end, he was called a voyeur. No matter how he explained it, no one believed it. The fifth life. Sixth life. The ninth life. The above situation is not unique to one life, but happens in every life. Even if he was misunderstood and frowned upon, he still persisted. But with each reincarnation, Zhang Chen felt a little more desperate. It was not until the 10th life, that is, this life, that he finally understood that the world was full of malice towards him. Compared with the protagonist of Destiny's Child, he, the senior brother with the villain halo, is not trusted at all. Not only that. No matter how much he cares for and sacrifices for his junior brothers and sisters, he will eventually be misunderstood or plucked by the protagonist due to various coincidences. In this life, Zhang Chen gave up, became cold-hearted, and was also ruined. Since God wants him to be a villain, why go against heaven? That's why he bullied his junior brother, teased his junior sister, and even actually peeped on Zhang Lianyu's bath. Yes, I did all these things. It is undeniable that junior sister Jiang's figure is really good, in front of everyone, Jiang Chen said with an evil smile. Wow! After the words fell, the whole place was in an uproar again. And a string of words appeared in Jiang Chen's mind. The host's behavior conforms to the villain's personality and will be rewarded with a Po Yuan Dan. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 2. Po Yuan Dan? Jiang Chen was stunned. Although he said he was showing off, he was not really showing off. Because in this life, something is different. Compared with previous lives, when Jiang Chen decided to become a true villain, a string of words came to his mind. As long as the host's behavior conforms to the villain's personality, he can ascend to the same place after death in the finale. Jiang Chen felt that this should be his system. In short, as long as his character is the same as in the original work, and he is killed by the protagonist in the end, he can ascend to other worlds and be completely free. In his previous 9 reincarnations, he had basically died like this. Jiang Chen wanted to laugh and greet the 18th generation ancestors of the system. The 9th reincarnation was repeated, and the system did not appear. But in this 10th life, when he decided to be a complete villain, the system appeared instead. It's just that it appears, but the system mission still can't change the outcome. This world is indeed full of malice towards him. If given a choice, Jiang Chen would naturally not want to repeat this ending. But since this is the only way to escape from the cycle and ascend on the spot, it's not up to him. Anyway, for him, as long as he can leave this hummed-up world, that's enough. Perhaps for motivation, or perhaps to highlight his own existence, when Jiang Chen's behavior conforms to the original villain's character design, the system will give some rewards from time to time. The same is true for Po Yuan Dan this time. It is worth mentioning that not all system rewards are good things, there are also many useless ones. Let's talk about the rest. After the uproar, everyone was in disbelief. They didn't expect that Jiang Chen not only admitted it, but also admitted it so confidently. And by the way, he teased Zhang Lianyu again. It's simply too arrogant. Aren't you afraid that the Peak Master will be so angry that he will really abolish his cultivation and drive him out of the Juyan sect? What everyone doesn't know is that this is how the original work was written. In the original work, Jiang Chen is Xiao Hongai's first direct disciple, so he has always been very attentive in teaching, and he is also quite partial when things happen. It is also because of this that Jiang Chen is so bold and has no scruples when he starts doing villainous things. After hearing this, Xiao Hongai was obviously very angry. She clenched her fingers tightly, her breath rising and falling from time to time, and she was obviously in a tangle. Seeing this, a girl wearing a white cloud-glazed skirt came out and said, "Master, this is the first time that the senior brother has committed a crime, and he has been taking care of Zhifeng for many years. Let's forget about this matter." The person who spoke out was none other than Zhang Lianyu. If he followed the sect rules, Jiang Chen would not be able to escape being expelled from the sect today. But she could tell that Xiao Hongai couldn't bear it. She was new to Juyan sect and being too aggressive would be detrimental to getting along with her master in the future, so she helped to intercede. This made Xiao Hongai breathe a sigh of relief. She just doesn't understand. Why did you accept Jiang Chen, a disciple with bad conduct, in the first place? After years of teaching, she originally thought that Jiang Chen would change his ways, but unexpectedly, he got worse. Things are getting more and more extreme. What made her most desperate was Jiang Chen only molested his junior sister and spied on Zhang Lianyu, even for her as a master. In recent times, I can occasionally see a hint of frivolity in this apprentice's eyes. This apprentice seems to be really hopeless. Xiao Hongai closed her beautiful eyes slightly and sighed in her heart. This time, she will still protect Jiang Chen, but it will definitely be the last time. If Zhang Chen doesn't change, then the fate of master and disciple will be over. After a long time, Xiao Hong'ai finally opened her eyes. Looking directly at Zhang Chen, her expression was as severe as ever before, and she said, "The merits and demerits are equal to each other. Although we can avoid being expelled from the sect, we still need to be punished." Boom! As soon as she finished speaking, a strong breath burst out from her body. The aura was majestic and strong, until it surged towards Zhang Chen. The next second, Zhang Chen felt as if he was hit by a mountain, his energy and blood surged, and the Yuan Dan in his body instantly burst. Puff! Covering his chest, he spit out a mouthful of old blood. "Today I will destroy your Yuan Dan as punishment. From now on, you..." Xiao Hong'ai spoke again, her voice choked with sobs. Obviously, she also felt uncomfortable after Zhang Chen's Yuan Dan was destroyed. After taking a deep breath, she straightened her expression again. "From now on, you need to be careful in your words and deeds, and shoulder the heavy responsibility of senior brother Zhu Feng. If you do it again, you will be directly handed over to the sect law enforcement hall. The law enforcement hall does not show any mercy when it comes to its work." This also wanted to remind Zhang Chen that as a master, she would not protect him next time. "Thank you, master." After steadying his staggering figure, Zhang Chen held his hand. He is truly grateful. Although Xiao Hong'ai had destroyed his Yuan Dan, Xiao Hong'ai was one of the few people who would protect him after 9 reincarnations. It was also because of this that Zhang Chen wanted to save her after 9 reincarnations. Even if this life is completely ruined, he still wants to give it a try. In the original work, after entering Juyan sect, the sinister protagonist pretended to be cool and won the hearts of many women. Even Xiao Hong'ai was attracted to him. But these women don't have a happy ending. Since the results of the original work were not good, the author simply messed it up in the middle and later stages and asked the gunman to write randomly. The gunman was probably stimulated by women in real life and killed Xiao Hong'ai and other female protagonists and supporting characters. Without even holding hands, these people all died in the protagonist's testimony of female murder. In each of the 9 reincarnations, Zhang Chen tried his best to prevent these women from having a crush on the protagonist. But every life ended in failure. Obviously, the protagonist's halo is not something that he, a mere villain, can shake. In the ending, without exception, he is not only hated by many female protagonists and female supporting roles, but also indirectly gives the protagonist more stage to show off. "Master, in this life. Disciple, I will still save you." Feeling something, Zhang Chen bowed deeply to Xiao Hong'ai, his figure vicissitudes. In this life, he has a system. Although the ending remains unchanged, he can become stronger. He no longer expects to change Xiao Hong'ai's impression of him, but as long as he is strong enough, he can take other ways to let her avoid death. For example, destroy Xiao Hong'ai's body with absolute strength and seal it in an object for hundreds of years. Although this will attract Xiao Hong'ai's stronger hatred, at least it can avoid the protagonist's killing of the girl to prove his way. This is the only way Zhang Chen can think of now. As for others, good luck. After 9 reincarnations, he has had enough of these people's cold-eyed doubts. On the other hand, Xiao Hong'ai. Zhang Chen's figure made her nose sore for some reason. She always felt that her disciple seemed to have experienced something that made people feel distressed. "Disciple, it's not too late." Xiao Hong'ai stood up and said with a heavy nasal voice, "As long as you regain the right path, you will still be a good disciple of the master. Why don't you thank Lian Yu? She gave you the opportunity to reform." "Thank you." Junior sister Zhang Chen was very obedient and thanked Zhang Lianyu. After a little hesitation, Zhang Lianyu still replied, "No need, I hope that senior brother will live up to the good intentions of the master in the future. I will forget about this matter, and senior brother doesn't have to take it to heart." Really? Zhang Chen grinned. Yeah, Zhang Lianyu nodded. In that case, the junior sister shouldn't care. While I was peeping, I took some of the junior sister's personal belongings, right? Zhang Chen asked again. Zhang Lianyu's face suddenly turned black. Xiao Hong'ai did the same, and was ready to scold. But she hadn't spoken yet. Plop. The injuries in his body erupted, Zhang Chen's eyes went dark, and he fell to the ground unconscious. Seeing this, all the elders and disciples were speechless. He was injured like this, but he still didn't forget to speak frivolously. This senior brother, it seems that he is really hopeless. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 3. The night was filled with darkness, and the bright moon was hanging high. Zhang Lianyu returned to her residence alone, with a strong disgust between her eyebrows. She had never seen such a shameless person. If she had not just entered the Julian sect, and if her master had not treated her well, she would have taken action directly when Zhang Chen spoke frivolously today. After searching in her residence for a while, Zhang Lianyu's disgust became even stronger. Sure enough, it was gone. She was actually missing a few pieces of her underwear. She had just imagined that Zhang Chen still had a conscience, and those frivolous words were just his nature, but who would have thought, he actually stole her underwear. The scene when she was bathing was still vivid. When she thought of what Zhang Chen would do with her underwear, Zhang Lianyu felt her stomach churning, goosebumps all over her body, and an urge to vomit. Ah! Zhang Lianyu almost went crazy. From childhood to adulthood, when had she ever been bullied like this? At this moment, she even had the urge to kill Zhang Chen. It took a long time for her to calm down gradually. She was born to be an empress, and if she was distracted by such a thing, it would be a loss. If it happens again, I will dig out your eyes, Zhang Lianyu decided. She immersed herself in her mind and began to practice. Soon, Zhang Lianyu realized something was wrong. Before she started to practice, the spiritual energy in the room had gathered. She wanted to open her eyes to check, but suddenly she lost control of her body and couldn't move at all. Such a strange situation made Zhang Lianyu panic. She subconsciously thought that Zhang Chen had sneaked over again and did something to her. But soon, this idea was dispelled. Today, Zhang Chen's Yuandan was abolished and his cultivation fell to the lower 4 realms. With such an injury, without 10 days and a half months of recuperation, I'm afraid she can't even walk. What's more, the ability to cut off her connection with her body is definitely not something a lower 4 realm cultivator can do. Just when Zhang Lianyu was wondering if the Zhang family had sneaked into the sect to help Zhang Chen vent his anger, a dazzling white light exploded in her sea of consciousness, dazzling and dazzling. The white light faded, and Zhang Lianyu found herself in the void, and below was the Julian sect where immortal spirits were lingering and clouds and cranes were flying. What's going on? She was a little confused. Then, dense golden lines appeared in front of her eyes, converging and outlining, and finally formed 3 big characters. First life. First life? What does it mean? Zhang Lianyu was even more confused. Suddenly, the scene changed, and she appeared out of thin air in the main hall of the 9th peak of Julian sect. The disciples gathered in the hall, the elders were smiling, and Xiao Hong'ai, who was sitting on the first seat, was also smiling like a flower. In the center of the hall, Zhang Lianyu saw herself. At this moment, she was holding a spiritual tea, kneeling in front of Xiao Hong'ai, with an expression as indifferent as ever. Lianyu greets master. Okay. Okay. Lianyu, from now on you will be my disciple, Xiao Hong'ai. Although you have the appearance of a female emperor, Your personality is too indifferent. From now on, you need to build a good relationship with your fellow apprentices. If you don't understand something about cultivation, you can ask your senior brother. Senior brother? Yes, it is senior brother Zhifeng. Although his talent is not as good as yours, he is also 1 in a million, and his cultivation is also higher than yours. Lianyu remembers it. This is the situation when I became a disciple. In the void, Zhang Lianyu was shocked. She still remembered the situation that day, and naturally remembered what happened next. She clearly remembered that Zhang Chen appeared next. Zhang Chen not only spoke frivolously to her, but even looked around her with a pair of thief eyes. That was the first time she and Zhang Chen met. And this meeting made Zhang Lianyu sure that her senior brother was a shameless scumbag who was hard to describe. Master, rest assured. Since my junior sister has accepted you as her master, she is my real sister. We brothers and sisters should work together to strengthen Zhifeng and defend Julian's righteous path. A young man in white appeared and raised his hand to help himself up in the picture. This person was Zhang Chen. After seeing him, Zhang Lianyu in the void immediately frowned and felt a strong sense of disgust in her heart. But soon, she found something wrong. The memory of cultivators is very good and will not make mistakes. She clearly remembered that Zhang Chen was wearing black clothes that day, but now he has become white clothes. She clearly remembered that Zhang Chen's words were frivolous and his face was full of greed. But now, the white-clothed Zhang Chen smiled kindly, his eyes were clear and thorough, and his words and deeds were like a big brother next door, making people feel kind. Sister? I'm used to being alone, so you don't have to worry about me. Zhang Lianyu in the picture opened the hand that Bai Yi Zhang Chen extended, with the same indifference as always. Junior sister, you are wrong. Since I am your senior brother, I should take care of you. Bai Yi Zhang Chen still smiled. Take care? You, Zhang Lianyu looked disdainful. Because of my skills, I sometimes get cold poison in my body, and I need the 5th grade fire turbidity pill to suppress it. Can you give me a few? This. Bai Yi Zhang Chen was stunned and scratched his head, saying, I don't know about pills, but you can go to Danfan and find them for me. You mean take care of me with other people's things? Zhang Lianyu asked back. Bai Yi Zhang Chen was silent. Seeing this, Zhang Lianyu in the void looked embarrassed. Although this was not the scene in her memory, it also made her want to slap herself. How could someone be so kind and retort? Although the other person was Zhang Chen, he was not the Zhang Chen in her memory. But soon, Zhang Lianyu felt that this was something she could do. When she first entered Julian sect and became a disciple of the 9th peak, she was arrogant and indifferent. This was because there were always people around her who coveted her talent and appearance since she was a child. After spending a lot of time and feeling the sincerity of the peak master Xuanhuan, she understood some of the ways of the world. Suddenly, the scene changed. At the Danfan of Julian sect, Zhang Chen appeared in the Dan room, still wearing a white robe. He held the Dan recipe in his left hand and read it, and his right hand kept pointing in the air, obviously controlling the spiritual fire in the Dan furnace through his own vitality. Keeping this posture, he sometimes frowned in deep thought, and sometimes murmured. Fire turbidity pill, a 5th grade elixir. Its main material is the heart-dissolving fire Ganoderma, which is refined with Xianling grass and 7-colored ancient vine. It can suppress cold poison and refine fire-attributed skills. When refining the fire turbidity pill, the spiritual fire has 79 changes, and it needs to be refined for 49 days before the pill embryo can be obtained. The pill embryo has many impurities. If you want to successfully condense the pill, you need to use the pill fire to pull it, otherwise, will the furnace explode? Boom! As soon as the words fell, the pill furnace trembled and exploded. Zhang Chen faced the aftermath and his face turned black in an instant. Puff! Zhang Lianyu in the void couldn't help laughing when she saw this. How could there be such a person? It was just a joke, but he really came to learn to refine the pill. The fire turbidity pill is a 5th grade elixir, which can only be refined by a 5th grade alchemist. Even if Zhang Chen has a good talent, he can't become a 5th grade alchemist in a short time. That's fine. When ordinary alchemists make elixirs, they first memorize the recipe and then start. But Zhang Chen was so good that he actually made the elixir while watching. Isn't this the furnace that exploded? After laughing, Zhang Lianyu was also certain, he is definitely not the senior brother in my memory. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 4. Until a few months later. Finally done, Zhang Chen in the alchemy room was extremely excited. The same goes for Zhang Lianyu, whom she has watched for several months. Although looking at the white-clothed Zhang Chen in front of her, her mind still sometimes flashed back to the face of her senior brother who hated him in her memory, but as time passed, the disgust in her heart had been significantly reduced. 4 months. In order to obtain the elixir fire, Zhang Chen entered the core of the elixir peak and endured the pain of the elixir fire entering his body and burning his heart. Diamond sued. While refining the elixir, he forgot to eat and sleep, and his energy was exhausted several times, causing him to faint and fall to the ground. But after waking up, he still made elixirs. When the furnace exploded, he looked disappointed and even hurt by the aftermath. But soon, he summed up his experience and made alchemy again. Over and over again, never giving up, until the face becomes thin and the expression is in a trance. During this period, Zhang Lianyu couldn't stand it anymore and kept shouting, "I don't want the elixir anymore. Stop practicing it." But Zhang Chen couldn't hear it at all and was still immersed in alchemy. Therefore, Zhang Lianyu was even happier than him when the pill was completed. "How great would it be if you were really my senior brother," Zhang Lianyu murmured on the spot as she watched Zhang Chen in white clothes leave with the elixir. She still didn't know what was going on, but there was a huge ripple in her heart. Then, the scene changed again. It was night and it was raining heavily. Zhang Lianyu appeared at her residence and saw herself in the picture, curled up on the bed with her knees in her arms, shivering due to a cold attack. At this glance, she could tell that because the fire zhou pill had been used up, she had to rely on perseverance to resist the cold poison. "It's okay. Senior brother will send elixirs soon," Zhang Lianyu comforted herself. Of course she knows. Cold poison attacks, and the cold air presses directly into the internal organs. It is like falling into the dark world, and even the soul will be frozen. That kind of coldness and that kind of pain are enough to destroy a person's consciousness and make him want to commit suicide. At this moment, Zhang Lianyu could only pray that Zhang Chen could come as soon as possible to save herself. Sudden. The person in the picture moved. Although his limbs were stiff from the cold and his face was pale, he struggled to get up and walk towards the back of the white crane screen with all his strength. "No. No," Zhang Lianyu's beautiful eyes widened and she shouted anxiously. She knew what she was going to do. Because this incident completely overlapped with the memory in her mind. As expected, the self in the picture came to the screen and began to take off his clothes, wanting to enter the steaming spiritual water that was already prepared. Accompanied by the sound of clothes sliding down. Boom! The door was suddenly pushed open, and a strong wind swept through the room. The force actually rolled down the screen. The next second, Zhang Chen in white clothes suddenly broke in and shouted, "Junior sister. Are you okay? I heard that you were suffering from cold poison, so senior brother specially brought the fire turbid pill." The sound stopped suddenly. The scene in front of him made Zhang Chen stunned, and he himself in the picture was also stunned. Then, "Get out of here," a voice that was extremely cold and filled with boundless fury sounded. The scene turned again, inside the Nine Peaks Hall. "Zhang Chen. You are not called senior brother Zhu Feng. Second junior brother just saw that you didn't salute, but you actually beat him into serious injuries. Third junior sister got the Yulong spiritual grasp by chance. We could have used it to break through the bottleneck, but you took it away from us. The fourth junior brother is dull. As a senior brother, it's okay for you not to care about him, but you actually make fun of him by laughing at him in public. There are so many evil deeds like this that it's hard to describe. That's it, that's all. As the senior brother of Zhifeng, you are not completely without merit. But Lian Yu joined the disciples at the beginning of the month and has the appearance of an empress. She is the hope of our Zhifeng and even the entire Juyan sect. As a senior brother, you should take care of me, but how can you? How could you ignore propriety, justice, and shame and do that peeping thing in the name of delivering medicine? Familiar words and familiar situations made Zhang Lianyu's heart feel like a knife in the void. In the screen, Zhang Chen in white clothes kept explaining and wanted to prove his innocence, but he was criticized by everyone because of his past misdeeds. Zhang Chen, how could you do this? A certain elder was furious. No, it's not like that, Zhang Lianyu kept shouting in the void. Zhang Chen, don't be sophistical. Everyone knows that you don't know the way of elixir. Even though your cultivation talent is unique, it is impossible for you to practice the 5th grade fire turbid elixir in a few months, another elder yelled. It's true. I saw it with my own eyes. You all misunderstood senior brother, he is really good, Zhang Lianyu shook her head desperately. Disciple, it's not that my master doesn't trust you. It's because Elder Danfan sent a message saying that you have never been to Danfan Xiao Hong I side. Master. This is a slander. Elder Danfan has a conflict with his senior brother, and he is confusing right and wrong. Zhang Lianyu was already jumping up and down anxiously. As long as someone questioned Zhang Chen, she would give him an explanation. But what's so frustrating is that no one can hear it. Zhang Lianyu cried. She squatted on the ground, crying helplessly, big tears falling from her cheeks. Why? Why doesn't everyone believe in senior brother? He is really innocent. Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded. Since master can't bear it, then this matter can be exposed. However, senior brother will still be punished. Although he doesn't have to abolish all his cultivation and be kicked out of the sect, at least his Yuan Dan must be abolished. What a poisonous heart. Hearing this, Zhang Lianyu stood up suddenly. She wanted to see who it was that treated her senior brother like this. But after seeing the face of the person who spoke clearly, Zhang Lianyu felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Because the person who spoke was himself, wasn't he? With so many thoughts in her mind, Zhang Lianyu collapsed to the ground. She wanted to explain for Zhang Chen, but found that it was herself who caused such a misunderstanding. If she had a little trust in Zhang Chen, she wouldn't have called the Nine Peaks Conference. If she could listen to Zhang Chen's explanation, Zhang Chen's Yuan Dan wouldn't have been abolished. Boom! A powerful spiritual power appeared, Zhang Chen vomited blood, and his Yuan Dan was abolished. After the punishment, everyone left angrily. Staggering, Zhang Chen in white came to the outside of the hall. He let the heavy rain pour down on his body, his face as pale as paper. It's okay after a while, Zhang Chen in white whispered, this is just a misunderstanding. As long as I explain it well, my junior sister and master will believe it sooner or later. I'm not a villain, and I don't want to be a villain. After speaking, his eyes went black and he fell to the muddy ground, having lost consciousness. Although several disciples passed by, no one asked. Zhang Lianyu was silent. She came to Zhang Chen and sat down with her knees curled up. Although it was pouring rain, she could not feel any coolness, and could not understand how Zhang Chen was suffering at the moment. Why? Why did you rush to save me, but the fire turbidity pill in your hand disappeared when the incident happened? Why did the elder of Danfan turn black and white because of personal grudges when you were clearly in Danfan for several months? Why did the strong wind blow the screen when you rushed into my residence? And why, at the moment of the incident, the cold poison in my body suddenly disappeared? All this makes me feel something. Hey, senior brother. Tell me, is God targeting you? 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 5. Zhang Lianyu wanted to tell herself. All this was an illusion. The senior brother in her memory was not so kind, and not so distressing. But as the scenes kept changing, she was already drawn into it. This seemed to be her life, and also Zhang Chen's life. Zhang Lianyu just watched quietly, no longer screaming, no longer indignant. All she could do was. When Zhang Chen was upset, she cried with him, sat beside him when he was desperate, and scolded those people for being heartless when they were misunderstood. This also included herself. One day, a young man with ordinary looks but great luck, worshipped in Juyan sect, named Lin Fan. He was obviously not as handsome as Zhang Chen, but he could attract everyone's attention. He was obviously dirty-minded, but he could make many female disciples feel good. He had done many bad things, but he seemed to be blessed by God, and the bad things turned good. For example, Zhang Chen went through hardships and found a white jade cold bed for her. This bed is mysterious. If you sleep on it, you can completely suppress the cold poison. Over the years, you can even turn the cold poison into power. But when he took out this bed, he was ridiculed by Lin Feng. Because the cold poison in Zhang Lianyu's body happened to be resolved by Lin Feng with natural treasures, the effect was better. And this natural treasure is the cold jade that accompanies the cold bed. The two were originally in one place. But when Zhang Chen found it, the cold bed was still there, and the cold jade was hidden. Lin Feng followed, but the cold jade showed up by itself. This is luck. And the reason why Lin Feng followed was that he wanted to pick the fruit from the beginning. Such situations are everywhere. Although he was ridiculed and slapped in the face by Lin Feng every time, Zhang Chen still did not give up and always persisted. From the perspective of others, this may be a dog-licking behavior. But Zhang Lianyu knew very well that this was not the case. Because Zhang Chen was not only like this to her, but also to other junior brothers and sisters. Zhang Chen, her senior brother. From the beginning to the end, I just wanted to take care of my junior brothers and sisters. But all this, under the influence of Lin Feng and various coincidences, was labeled as licking dog, jealous, coveting beauty, villain, and so on. God, how unfair is it? The most ironic thing is, Zhang Lianyu in the void understood everything and hated Lin Fan very much. But the self in the picture was getting closer and closer to him. In a blink of an eye, it was more than 10 years later. At this time, Zhang Chen had been deserted by his friends and relatives and was ruined. Not only was he expelled from the Juyan sect, but even the Fengling Zhang family was also destroyed. One person and one sword, he challenged Lin Feng to a duel until his death. He knew that he was not Lin Feng's opponent, but he went there resolutely without any retreat. Everyone saw that battle. Zhang Chen was angry and crazy. With every sword, he was full of resentment. And with every sword, he was full of despair. Before he died, he looked at Lin Feng and said in a sad voice, "Let them go." Zhang Chen begged for mercy, but not for himself. Who exactly were the them he was talking about? Zhang Lianyu didn't understand. It wasn't until Zhang Chen died 100 years ago and Lin Feng was unable to ascend to heaven. When he raised his butcher knife towards her, she finally understood. It turned out that Lin Feng cultivated the heartless knife. If you want to ascend to heaven, you must be a heartless person and kill a girl to prove your truth. Looking at herself in the picture, dying tragically under Lin Feng's knife, with a horrified look, Zhang Lianyu finally laughed. This life lasted for more than 100 years, and it was the first time she laughed out loud. Haha, you deserve it. Good death. After watching for 100 years, she wanted to kill herself more than once. Because she really deserved to die. The space was distorted, and the surroundings were swallowed by darkness. Is this the end? Zhang Lianyu whispered, and breathed a sigh of relief. She still didn't know what these scenes were, but she really didn't want to watch them anymore. She couldn't bear to see her senior brother suffer for her, and she didn't want to see the disgusting self again. But things didn't go as she wished. A ray of light appeared, becoming more and more dazzling, like a scorching sun that drove away the darkness in an instant. What came into view was still Julian sect. The golden thread emerged, gathered, and outlined again, and finally formed three big words. Second life. No, let me go. I don't want to see it anymore. What do you want to tell me? Zhang Lianyu covered her head and shook her head frantically. For 100 years, she felt sorry for Zhang Chen and blamed herself for her ignorance. For 100 years, these negative emotions tortured herself all the time, but she had no way to vent. In another 100 years, she was worried that she would go crazy. You only experienced one life for more than 100 years, while he experienced 9 lives for nearly 1,000 years. This sentence appeared directly in Zhang Lianyu's mind. 100 years? 1,000 years? 1 life, 9 lives. Zhang Lianyu raised her head suddenly, her beautiful eyes full of horror. She thought of something, but she didn't believe it. I want to find my senior brother. This time, she didn't need to switch scenes, she took the initiative to find Zhang Chen's location. It took a lot of effort for her to see Zhang Chen, who was wearing a white dress and smiling as always, in the back mountain of Julian sect. You must learn from your mistakes. Today is the day when junior sister Lianyu becomes a disciple. In half a month, her cold poison will break out. This time, I have to rush there in advance to avoid running into her bathing again. I don't want to experience the situation of watching them die in the dark again, Zhang Chen murmured, leaning against the towering ancient tree. Hearing this, Zhang Lianyu almost collapsed. She finally understood. This is not an illusion, but reality. Her senior brother had gone through 9,000 lives of torture and misunderstanding just to protect his junior brother and sister and save her life. As she thought, the scene changes again, and new hundreds of years appear one after another. In this life, Zhang Chen learned the lessons from the previous life and wanted to change everyone's destiny by advancing time and reducing misunderstandings. But 100 years later, the situation remains the same. The words "let them go" made Zhang Lianyu burst into tears again. The third life. The fourth life. The fifth life. Until the 9th life. Period. Zhang Chen is used to being misunderstood and no longer refutes when faced with questions. He was used to others' disgust, and when he was frowned upon, he would just smile calmly. He was used to his fate, and even if he failed again, he would only look bitter. But one thing has never changed. At the moment of death, his body was covered in devastation. Although resentful and angry. But I still say one thing. Let them go. The 10th life. It is also the Julian sect, also in the back mountain. Zhang Lingyu found Zhang Chen. For nearly 1,000 years, she has cried and collapsed countless times. Elder brother, let me die, let us die. Please, we don't deserve it, we really don't deserve it. Kneeling in front of Zhang Chen, Zhang Lianyu cried into tears. She's had enough. Enough of this day, enough of this place. Enough of this world. This world is full of malice towards senior brother. Why? Why should his senior brother deserve to suffer so much, while Lin Feng, a villain, can live freely in the world? Is all this just because Lin Feng is the son of destiny and the protagonist of this world? The most hateful thing is myself. Even if Lin Feng is protected by luck, even if he is the son of destiny. But it is undeniable that she was the one who hurt Zhang Chen the most. She is blind. I'm tired. Zhang Chen's whisper made Zhang Lianyu stop crying suddenly. Zhang Lianyu slowly raised her head and saw her senior brother, laughing crazily and saying, "Let them die. Since the world thinks I am a villain, then I will really be a villain. God's will anyway." Only then did she realize it. Zhang Chen, who was always dressed in white, now changed into black clothes. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 6. The 10th life came to an abrupt end. When she came to her senses, Zhang Lianyu was still in her room, and it was late at night outside. She went to the window and stared at the sky. The 1,000 years of scenes were vivid in her mind, but she was left with only deep self-blame and guilt. Suddenly, she drew the long sword on the table, crossed it across her neck, and intended to commit suicide. Although she had no memory, she, like other junior brothers and sisters, had indeed tortured the eldest brother for nearly 1,000 years. Such a sin can only be washed away with her own life. But just as she moved her fingers slightly, a ray of spiritual light suddenly shot out and bounced the long sword in her hand away. Ah! A faint sigh sounded, and the peak master Xuanhuan appeared at the side. Why do you have to do this? You are the life of the Empress, how can you despise your life because of the mistakes of others? Xuanhuan said. Do you think that I committed suicide because the eldest brother saw my body? Zhang Lianyu asked coldly with a blank expression. Isn't it? Xuanhuan was stunned. Heh. Zhang Lianyu sneered, then stood up suddenly and roared, not only I deserve to die, you deserve to die too. You are unworthy of being a master. You don't even understand your own disciple. Bold, Xuanhuan was furious. She didn't understand what this meant, but she felt that Zhang Lianyu had obviously lost respect for her. Master, please go back. There is no room for 2 damned people in my place. Zhang Lianyu's voice was still cold. Xuanhuan was stunned again. As the head of the 9th peak of Juyan sect, she wanted to leave directly, but she was worried that Zhang Lianyu would still think about it, so she could only sigh, I don't know what your difficulties are, but committing suicide is just an escape. Your enemies will laugh and your relatives will cry. Zhang Lianyu was finally moved by these words. 2 voices appeared in her mind. One was that Zhang Chen asked Lin Feng to let them go before he died. The other was the arrogant laughter when Lin Feng killed the girl to prove his truth and swung the butcher knife. She didn't want to make the senior brother sad. Maybe in this life, the senior brother will no longer care about their lives, but he certainly doesn't want to see her commit suicide. She didn't want Lin Feng to have an easy time either. In the 9 reincarnations, Lin Feng killed the senior brother 9 times, and she would kill him 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Even if the other party is the child of destiny, she will try. Only in this way can she truly wash away her sins. Thinking of this, Zhang Lianyu stood up and left. Where are you going? Xuanhuan asked. Zhang Lianyu stopped, her expression as cold as the 9 days of frost, and answered irrelevantly, you are better than me. Although the ending is the same, you, at least really love the senior brother. After saying this, she disappeared. This made Xuanhuan confused and didn't understand. After a long time, she could only guess that it might be that Zhang Lianyu's heart was chilled by her partiality to Zhang Chen this time. But what can she do? After all, he is her eldest disciple. Unless she is completely desperate, she can't bear to abolish his cultivation and expel him from the sect. Ah! With another sigh, Xuanhuan also left. On the hillside of Zhifeng, among the towering ancient trees, there is a wooden pavilion. This is where Zhang Chen lives. Originally, he was the eldest brother of Zhu Feng. His residence was on the right side of the hall, where the spiritual energy was the most dense. But some time ago, Zhang Chen moved here on his own. At that time, many people talked about it, saying that the reason why Zhang Chen did this was probably because he felt that he was unqualified as the eldest brother and lowered his treatment. Now Zhang Lianyu knows. The reason for this is that Zhang Chen wants to stay away from his junior brothers and sisters and live a quiet life alone. The bright moon shines silver on the ground, and Zhang Lianyu stands alone in front of the wooden house. She knows that Zhang Chen is still in a coma at this moment. After 9 lives and thousands of years, she had basically understood most of the plot, and also knew that this time the Yuan Dan was abolished, which would make Zhang Chen bedridden for more than 10 days. Squeak. Pushing the door open, it was dark inside, with only a few lights flickering. Deep in the wooden house, Zhang Chen was still dressed in black, lying on the bed with his arms and legs spread out, his breath rising and falling slightly. When she came to the bed, Zhang Lianyu's nose was instantly sour. It was her again, causing the senior brother to faint in the bed. Although Zhang Chen did peak in this life, this was not a problem for Zhang Lianyu at the moment. 9 lives and thousands of years. Looking back, the person who treated her best and remained true to his original intention for thousands of years was the senior brother in front of her. Maybe Zhang Chen was just a senior brother and sister to her, but thousands of years of watching from the sidelines had already made the name Zhang Chen engraved into her bones, unforgettable for life and death. Zhang Lianyu knew that she was not qualified to be with the senior brother. Because of her stupidity and ignorance, she hurt the senior brother's heart over and over again. But as long as Zhang Chen is willing, she is willing to give everything. Bending down, Zhang Chen's cheek is right in front of her. Zhang Lianyu raised her hand, rolled up her hair, and said, "Big brother, I'm sorry, Lianyu was wrong." After speaking, huge tears slid from her eyes and dripped on Zhang Chen's cheek. The 1,000-year scene reappeared again, and the sobbing continued until the dawn and the sun rose. Zhang Lianyu originally thought that she had cried for 1,000 years and cried enough. But now she knew. She didn't cry enough at all. Whenever she thought of the grievances Zhang Chen had suffered, her heart was torn, and she couldn't even breathe smoothly. Holding Zhang Chen's right hand with both hands, and putting his palm against her cheek, while feeling Zhang Chen's temperature, Zhang Lianyu said again, "Big brother, don't abandon Lianyu. Lianyu will atone for her sins, and Lianyu will not let anyone hurt you again. If the sky doesn't tolerate you, I will wield the sword against the sky. If the earth doesn't tolerate you, I will swing the sword to split the earth. The immortals and Buddhas in the sky, the emperors of the 10 directions, as long as you say a word, I will kill the immortals and emperors for you even if my soul is destroyed. Just ask." "Ha ha ha. I'm a villain." "You all go to hell," Zhang Chen's dream interrupted Zhang Lianyu's murmur. Hearing this, Zhang Lianyu smiled and said, "Okay, brother has protected me for 9 lifetimes, and this lifetime is my turn. Since brother wants to be a villain, then I will accompany brother and kill them all. Thousands of years of self-blame, 9 lifetimes of guilt." At this time, she was actually overwhelmed by all kinds of negative emotions. If Xuanhuan hadn't appeared in time, she would have even committed suicide with a sword. Although Zhang Lianyu used to be indifferent, she was never cruel. I'm afraid she didn't realize that she had actually gone mad and turned evil. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 7. More than 10 days later, Zhang Chen woke up from his coma. Although his injuries had not healed, he had regained his mobility. Sitting on the edge of the bed, he stretched. In this life, although he was a villain and his Yuan Dan was still abolished, he felt extremely relaxed. Looking around, he saw a few white pills on the wooden table in the room, with a halo of pills. Zhang Chen knew the name of this pill without careful observation. 4th grade Suling pill. Its effect is to renew the Lingning pill in a short time, allowing the cultivator with a broken Xuanhuan to enter the Xuanhuan realm again. Master. Zhang Chen felt an inexplicable pain in his heart. After 9 lives. In every life, Xiao Hong'ai would abolish his Xuanhuan, and in every life, Xiao Hong'ai would personally put down several Suling pills before he woke up. Zhang Chen always knew that his master really loved him. The deeper the love, the more severe the blame. When Xiao Hong'ai was completely desperate and felt that her eldest disciple was hopeless, her reaction was also very intense. Zhang Lianyu and other junior sisters and brothers just hated him very much. But Xiao Hong'ai. She destroyed Zhang Chen's cultivation and expelled him from the sect. She did not allow anyone to mention Zhang Chen's name in front of her. When she learned that Zhang Chen was still doing evil after leaving the sect, she was even ready to clean up the sect. In terms of physical harm, what Xiao Hong'ai did to Zhang Chen was higher than any junior brother and sister. In every life, Zhang Chen was made unstable and depressed by his master. But these depressions disappeared before he died. Because every time Zhang Chen closed his eyes, he would see Xiao Hong'ai rushing towards him in tears. Although her peerless face was full of heartbreak, she still held him tightly in her arms. Disciple, I am not a good master. I didn't teach you well. Master, don't cry. I will save you in the next life. Thinking back on all this, Zhang Chen's nose was sour and his heart was broken. The reason why he could persist for 9 lives, was misunderstood and accused for 9 lives, and was killed by the protagonist 9 times. Wasn't the biggest reason to save Xiao Hong'ai's life? He was not a masochist. But he couldn't watch his master die tragically. It was not until the 9th life that Zhang Chen finally understood. He could not fight against this day. He was reincarnated for 9 lives. Aren't the master and many junior brothers and sisters reincarnated for 9 lives in another sense? The same thing is that they were all trapped in this world, tortured over and over again, and then died. The difference is that Zhang Chen has memories, while others don't. Instead of doing this, since it cannot be changed, it is better to let this life be the end. Zhang Chen is tired and exhausted. Apart from his master and the Zhang family, he no longer wants to change anything. He just wants to quietly welcome the end and then ascend to another world. In fact, he also has other considerations. After ascending, if he can kill back to this world, he will definitely cut the protagonist into pieces and chop him up to feed the dog. Although this possibility is extremely low. Whew. Slowly exhaling a breath of turbid air, Zhang Chen calmed down. If you want to ascend on the spot, you must maintain the villain character and welcome your own ending. This also means that whether he likes it or not, he must follow the plot. In the original work, the protagonist Lin Feng's apprenticeship is still more than a month later. Now what Zhang Chen needs to do is to restore his cultivation as soon as possible, while establishing the villain character, get some benefits from the system, so that he can live to the end smoothly. Although relying on system rewards, constantly becoming stronger, and then killing the protagonist to change this world, it is also a way. But the consequences of mission failure are unknown. Zhang Chen dare not gamble. He has had enough of the 9 reincarnations. If he falls into reincarnation again and loses the system, he will be completely trapped in this reincarnation. Over and over again, tortured. No longer thinking about it, Zhang Chen picked up the Suling pill on the table and threw it directly into his mouth. Before, he was a ground-level cultivator, but the Xuanhuan was abolished, and at this moment his cultivation fell to the lower 4 realms. After the Xuanhuan suspended in the purple mansion broke, it also degenerated into a sea of spirits. This is the Bahai realm of the lower 4 realms. The lower 4 realms are a general term for the 4 realms of tempering the body, receiving the spirit, chi strength, and pi. To enter the Tao, a cultivator must first temper the body with medicine, and then use the exercises to induce the spirit power and receive the spirit inside. As the spirit power gradually becomes stronger, the spirit power can be transformed into strength, drive various magic weapons, and practice attack secrets. On this basis, the cultivator needs to use spiritual power to continuously flush the danshan, cultivate the spiritual bed, and absorb the spiritual energy into the sea. This is the last realm of the lower four realms, the Pi realm. To enter the Xuanhuan realm from the Pi realm, you need to temper and compress the spiritual sea until the purple palace is generated and the Xuanhuan is condensed. The Xuanhuan realm is divided into four realms, namely, Initial Formation, Human Yuan, Earth Yuan, and Heaven Yuan. For ordinary cultivators, if they want to cross the lower four realms and condense the Xuanhuan, they need to practice hard for 100 years. Even those with excellent talents need decades. Zhang Lianyu was already in the Human Yuan realm at the age of 18, and with the accompanying emperor source, she had the appearance of a female emperor. Although Zhang Chen's talent is not as good as Zhang Lianyu, he is also 1 in a million. Before he was abandoned, although his cultivation was better than Zhang Lianyu, because he often took drugs, his foundation was unstable and the Xuanhuan was not solid enough. This time the Xuanhuan was abandoned, but it gave him an opportunity to consolidate his foundation. After the pill entered the stomach, the spiritual sea in Zhang Chen's body, which had been almost dried up due to his injuries, instantly became active, like a rain after a drought, greedily absorbing the medicinal power. As the medicinal power was consumed, the spiritual sea became more and more full. Seeing that the medicinal power was running out, Zhang Chen threw another soul-renewing pill into his mouth. The 2 pills were quickly consumed, and after the last trace of medicinal power was swallowed by the spiritual sea was like a vast ocean, with magnificent waves. Zhang Chen was going to stop there, but he remembered the Yuan breaking pill awarded by the system. This pill is also a 4th-grade pill. As the saying goes, there is no establishment without destruction. It is a must-have pill for cultivators in the lower 4 realms to condense Xuanhuan. The pills in this world are divided into 9 grades, with the 1st grade being the lowest and the 9th grade being the highest. Each grade is divided into lower, middle, upper, and perfect quality. It is said that there are also top grade and divine grade pills, but this has not been seen for 1,000 years. The Yuan breaking pill awarded by the system is of perfect quality. The reason why the perfect quality is called perfect is that it does not contain any impurities. Not only is the effect stronger, but there are no side effects. After thinking about it, Zhang Chen took the Yuan breaking pill. His current strength is too weak. If the cultivation level of the lower 4 realms appears in front of other disciples, he will not have any deterrent power at all. In the original novel, he also knew this truth, so after his Xuanhuan was abolished, he retreated for more than a month, and only returned to the Xuanhuan realm and appeared in front of people on the eve of Lin Feng's apprenticeship. Zhang Chen didn't want to waste more than a month for no reason, he also wanted to establish his villain character more. Admittedly, this move may change some of the plot, but it doesn't matter. After all, his mission is to end up dead as a villain, but it doesn't mean that he can't change the plot. Anyway, as long as Lin Feng doesn't die, he can complete the mission in the finale and ascend on the spot. This is exactly what Zhang Chen is least worried about. After all, if the Son of Destiny really died so easily, he wouldn't have reincarnated 9 times and ended up with the same ending. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 8. A few days later, Zhang Chen showed up at the gate of Zhifeng. He was still dressed in black, with a half-smile on his face, his eyes lingering on the female disciples coming in and out, looking like a villain. Zhang Chen was followed by 2 younger brothers, who nodded and bowed, with a flattering look on their faces. Big brother is big brother, Even if he peeped at Zhang Lianyu bathing, he was not severely punished. Please correct your words. Was that peeping? It was obviously Zhang Lianyu who seduced Big Brother, and Big Brother had no choice but to follow her. Oh, look at my mouth. Big Brother, please forgive me, you know, I am too honest and not good at speaking. Then again, Big Brother is really awesome. That day, the Xuanhuan was obviously destroyed, but only half a month has passed, and the eldest brother has returned to the Xuanhuan realm. Such talent is really 1 in a million. What do you mean 1 in a million? He is clearly the posture of a great emperor. Do you think I don't know? Loki, understand. The eldest brother is a Loki person. After you said this, wouldn't the whole world know it? Oh, look at my mouth, why can't I restrain my admiration for the eldest brother? The 2 younger brothers kept flattering him, and Zhang Chen listened with relish, looking immersed in it. It's not that he is vain, but he thinks that these 2 people have good eloquence and can go to perform big dramas. Eldest brother, junior brother is ignorant, what are we standing here for? The younger brother on the right suddenly asked. Hearing this, Zhang Chen immediately gave him a white eye. Coming here, of course, is to let everyone in Zhifeng see that their eldest brother is back again. In this way, the villain's personality can be better established. Just as Zhang Chen thought. When the disciples who came in and out of Zhifeng saw him, they were all stunned, and then there was shock in their eyes. It was obvious that Zhang Chen's return to Xuanhuan in a short period of time was indeed beyond almost everyone's expectations. After a brief shock, the disciples gritted their teeth and stepped forward, bowing and shouting, "Hello, senior brother." After Zhang Chen nodded in response, these disciples dared to leave quickly and breathed a sigh of relief. The last incident was still in front of us. The second senior brother was beaten seriously for not paying respect to the senior brother, and he is still lying in bed. Damn it, the days will be difficult again in the future. When leaving, the disciples couldn't help but complain in their hearts. You. What are you standing there for? I'm talking about you. Come here, Zhang Chen pointed at a disciple casually and shouted loudly. The disciple he pointed at was a new disciple, thin and with quiet features. First, he pointed at his nose. After making sure that Zhang Chen was talking to him, the disciple had to grit his teeth and stepped forward, bowing and saying, "What do you want, senior brother?" "Did you just curse me in your heart?" Zhang Chen asked with narrowed eyes. "How do you know, how is it possible?" The new disciple was shocked and changed the subject. "Senior brother is kind and lenient with himself. My admiration for senior brother is like a rushing river, which is hard to stop. Whenever I see senior brother, I will." At this point, the new disciple's expression changed and he even sobbed a little. "What do you do?" Zhang Chen asked with a blink. "I will think of my late father. Senior brother is like a brother and a father to me. He is not a relative, but he is better than a relative." The new disciple covered his face and finally cried out. Seeing this, Zhang Chen was a little confused. He never expected it. Unexpectedly, the eloquence of this year's 9 Peaks disciples was so good. It was like crying for real. Through the gap between his fingertips, the new disciple saw Zhang Chen's expression and breathed a sigh of relief. Since he learned that his second senior brother was beaten, he practiced the words just now every day, so that he could use them at the critical moment. Judging from Zhang Chen's expression, he should have passed this level today. The wicked will be punished by heaven, and sooner or later you will be abolished and expelled from the sect. He also cursed silently in his heart. Bold, Zhang Chen suddenly became furious. "When you see me, you dare to think of your deceased father? Isn't this cursing me to death? Beat him up." Behavior is in line with the villain's personality. Dandeo experience value add 10%. The new disciple was confused. Can this also be the reason for him to be beaten? He wanted to explain a few words for himself, but the two younger brothers around Zhang Chen rolled up their sleeves and rushed over after hearing the order, and beat him up in 2 or 3 strokes. Haha, get out, Zhang Chen waved his hand and laughed the villain's signature laugh. The new disciple left as if he had been pardoned. Big brother is awesome. He can tell at a glance that this new disciple has bad intentions. The slightly taller younger brother gave a thumbs up. Another disciple wanted to agree, but suddenly his pupils shrank. In the distance of the peak gate, a girl was seen wearing a purple glass flowing cloud skirt, with 3,000 black silks on her head, and her beautiful face was full of frost. The girl came lightly with lotus steps, and her graceful figure set off by a pair of slender legs was simply beautiful. Zhang Lianyu. Zhang Chen's pupils shrank slightly. He didn't feel strange to see Zhang Lianyu. After all, this is the peak gate, and anyone could show up. He was just wondering. Although Zhang Lianyu used to look like a stranger, she was never as cold as she is now. The cold breath emanating from her body was like a glacier that had existed for thousands of years. Just looking at it would make people feel like falling into an ice cellar. Big brother, judging from Zhang Lianyu's appearance, I'm afraid she's here with bad intentions, the younger brother warned. Zhang Chen thought the same and prepared to retreat. He didn't forget that he still had some personal belongings in his hand. What if Zhang Lianyu came to ask for them, would he give them to her or not? If he gave them to her, he would be admitting his weakness in public and losing face as a villain. If he didn't give them to her, it would not work either. After all, although Zhang Chen had entered the Yuandan realm again, he was only at the initial stage of Yuandan, and he could not beat Zhang Lianyu who had the cultivation of Renai Yuan at all. After glancing at Zhang Lianyu lightly, Zhang Chen turned back to the peak. Seeing this, Zhang Lianyu's eyes showed a trace of anxiety, and the frost on her face suddenly melted. Today, she was doing things in other peaks. When she learned that Zhang Chen had recovered and appeared at the gate of Zhifeng, she rushed here as soon as possible, in order to see Zhang Chen a few more times and talk to him. But Zhang Chen's indifference and his determination when he turned around made her heart ache, and she could no longer say the words of retention. She knew. The current senior brother should hate her. If she wants to blame someone, she can only blame herself for hurting him too deeply. During this period of time, Zhang Lianyu considered whether to tell the senior brother directly that she had learned everything. But in the end, she gave up the idea. In this life, let the senior brother live as he pleases. No one and nothing should affect him, Zhang Lianyu murmured silently in her heart. Just as she sighed softly and was about to leave. Junior brother Zhang, don't be in a hurry to leave, a slightly playful voice sounded. Looking for the sound. Zhang Lianyu's beautiful eyes suddenly overflowed with cold light. A strong murderous intent filled her mind and extended to her limbs, making her whole body tremble uncontrollably. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 9. What appeared in front of Zhang Chen was a horse face. To be precise, it should be a middle-aged man wearing a gray-white Dan robe, with narrow eyes and a pointed nose, and a face like a horse. The middle-aged man was, as his name suggested, named Ma Wu, and he was the elder of Danfan of Juyan sect. It was him who, in Zhang Chen's 9 reincarnations, turned black and white every time, saying that Zhang Chen had never been to Danfan, thus confirming the crime of peeping. It was also him. In every life, he teamed up with the protagonist Lin Feng to give Zhang Chen aphrodisiac. Let Zhang Chen attack his third sister, and then he was caught. As a result, his cultivation was abolished and he was expelled from Juyan sect. Or he colluded with the protagonist. The two of them had made a plan early and buried a hidden line, waiting for Zhang Chen's cultivation to be abolished, expelled from the sect, and after the death of the ancestor of the Zhang family, someone would report the matter directly to the dynasty. In the end, more than 10,000 golden cavalry descended from the sky and wiped out 106 members of the Fengling Zhang family. The reason is that Ma Wu thinks Zhang Chen is misbehaving and is frivolous to the female disciples of Danfan. He is not worthy of being a disciple of Julian sect. How ridiculous! In the 9 reincarnations, Zhang Chen has been trying to change the influence of others on him. But no matter what he does, he will always increase his villain aura and attract the hostility of those who claim to be righteous people. Looking at the plot of the 9 lives, the only one who stands on Zhang Chen's side is the Fengling Zhang family. But in the end, the Zhang family, a 1,000-year-old family that has never made any mistakes, was also labeled as a villain. When the whole family was slaughtered, no righteous people stood up and denounced the injustice. The scene of the 9 lives was vivid. Zhang Chen clenched his fists, and his eyes were also filled with cold light. If he is destined to be a villain, then be a villain. If this is the righteous way, he will slaughter the righteous way. With his eyes slightly closed, Zhang Chen slowly exhaled a turbid breath. According to the original plot, he is indeed a villain, while Ma Wu is a righteous man who can't tolerate any sand in his eyes. In this case, let him regain his character. But this time, Ma Wu will see what a real villain is. Know what cruelty is. Zhang Chen will not attack Ma Wu here, because he is not stupid. Although the cultivation of the elder of Danfan is not high, Ma Wu is still a human Dan. Even if he takes action by force, even if he has the ability to kill him in the end, someone will appear to stop him. Nephew. Elder Ma, don't flatter yourself. I am the true disciple of Zhifeng, and my master is the master of One Peak. And you are just a mere elder of Danfan, how can you call me nephew? Why, do you want to be on an equal footing with my master? Zhang Chen asked coldly. Ma Wu was speechless immediately. In humiliation, he directly scolded, Zhang Chen. I am also an elder of Yifeng after all. Although you are a true disciple, you are still a disciple. You are so rude, not only you lose face for Zhifeng, but also for my Julian sect. What a big tone. You, Ma Wu, are just an elder of Yudanfen. Can you represent the entire Julian sect? Zhang Chen retorted. Ma Wu was speechless again. Too lazy to engage in such verbal disputes, Zhang Chen wanted to leave with a cold snort. Coincidentally, at this time, Zhang Lianyu came slowly in the distance. Ma Wu was overjoyed and said kindly, Zhang nephew, your Zhifeng senior brother has no respect for the superior and inferior, and his behavior is despicable. It is said that he also did something frivolous to you. In this case, you follow me to the law enforcement hall and expose his crimes. I will definitely give you justice. Hearing this, Zhang Chen's face sank. Although the matter has been punished in the peak, if it really goes to the law enforcement hall, I am afraid it will be unavoidable to be punished. By then, the master might come to rescue me again. Ma Wu thought so too. Now not only Zhifeng, but also other peaks of Julian sect have learned about Zhang Chen's actions. The reason why the law enforcement hall did not take action is because this is an internal matter of Zhifeng, and they have to give Xiao Hongai some face. But if there is a victim who directly reports to the law enforcement hall, then there is a reason to intervene. And for disciples like Zhang Chen who corrupt the sect and violate the sect rules, the law enforcement hall never shows mercy. Even if Zhang Chen has the support of Fengling Zhang family, it is still the same. On the other hand, Zhang Lianyu. She ignored Ma Wu's smug look and came straight to Zhang Chen. There were tears in her eyes, and a bright smile on her lips, and she said softly, Lianyu, meet the eldest brother. With this smile, the glaciers of 10,000 years melted and the plants revived. This smile can make all flowers dim and all things in the world become a foil. Zhang Chen was stunned. Ma Wu was stunned. The two younger brothers around Zhang Chen opened their mouths into an O shape. What's going on? Yesterday in the hall, Zhang Lianyu looked at Zhang Chen with disgust. Why is she smiling so charmingly today? The entire Juyan sect knows that Zhang Lianyu and Zhang Chen have a very bad relationship. But now anyone with a discerning eye can see that her beautiful eyes full of affection seem to only have room for Zhang Chen. Junior sister, you're welcome. Zhang Chen responded instinctively in shock. He was the most confused one. Even in the 9 reincarnations and 1,000 years, he had never seen Zhang Lianyu show such an expression to him. For a moment, he didn't know how to respond. Ma Wu came to his senses first and shouted, "Junior sister Zhang, you are the queen. Don't get too close to this kind of sex scum, so as not to make mistakes." Hearing this, Zhang Lianyu's smile suddenly disappeared, and her fair cheeks were cold again. "Scum of the sect," she repeated these 4 words, and her aura began to surge. A visible chill began to spread from her jade feet, 1 zhang, 2 zhang, and then dozens of zhang. Instantly, the area within 10 feet of the peak gate was shrouded in cold air, and it was like the cold winter, with withered grass and trees, and all you could see was ice, dew and frost. In the cold air, the disciples with decent cultivation had to circulate their spiritual power to resist the cold air entering their bodies. The disciples with lower cultivation had already been frozen into ice sculptures by the cold air. Zhang Lianyu didn't care about the life and death of the disciples on the same peak. She spread her right hand, her purple palace trembled, and a long ice jade sword appeared in her hand. "Today is the day you die." Looking directly at Ma Wu, Zhang Lianyu's voice was like an evil ghost, asking for his life. Ma Wu was completely confused. He wondered if Zhang Lianyu had made a mistake in the target. Even if she really wanted to kill, shouldn't she kill Zhang Chen? Why is Zhang nephew like this? But this scum instigated it? You are still young, don't be deceived by the traitors, and fight against each other. Ma Wu stepped back and dissuaded anxiously. Undoubtedly, the scum he was referring to was Zhang Chen. Little did he know that it was the sentence that made Zhang Lianyu's murderous intent even more stern. "Who?" The cold wind suddenly blew, and Zhang Lianyu's figure disappeared in the cold air. When she appeared again, she was already behind Ma Wu. The ice jade sword swung, and several icy sword chi condensed, beautiful and deadly, each pointing to Ma Wu's vitals. A sense of crisis arose spontaneously, and Ma Wu turned around suddenly. Seeing that the sword chi was in front of him, he shouted in a low voice, and Dan fire emerged from his 7 orifices, gathering into several fire snakes, trying to melt the icy sword chi. He overestimated himself and underestimated Zhang Lianyu. One is the elder of Danfan, and the other is the appearance of the Empress. Although the two are in the same realm, their combat effectiveness is obviously not at the same level. Soon, the icy sword chi cut down the fire snake, wrapped in the surrounding spiritual power, and broke through the air forward. Everything happened so fast, in just a moment, Ma Wu had no time to react. He didn't expect it. Just one move. He, the elder of Danfan, was about to be killed by Zhang Lianyu. A life or death moment. Stop. A red stream of light came from the sky of Zhifeng and landed in front of Ma Wu. 9 generations of villains, the heroines have all turned evil. Author, Fu Zituo. Chapter 10. Xuanhuan I was stunned. In fact, since Ma Wu appeared at the gate of Zhifeng, she had used her spiritual sense to investigate everything. She knew very well that many disciples and elders hated Zhang Chen very much, and were worried that Zhang Chen would not be able to restrain himself and do something out of line. But the result? It was not Zhang Chen who took action. It was Zhang Lianyu. Although it was just one move just now, every sword energy went straight to the vital point, leaving no room for maneuver. This is in Juyan sect, in front of Zhifeng. No matter how big the grudge between Zhang Lianyu and Ma Wu is, they can't fight here. Ma Wu is an elder of a peak after all. If he is really killed, even if Zhang Lianyu is the appearance of an empress, she will not be able to avoid punishment. After all, the appearance of an empress is important, but the sect rules are the foundation of the sect. How can it be a joke? With a wave of her sleeves, several icy sword chi dissipated by themselves, and Xiao Hong'ai shouted out the thoughts of everyone present. Lianyu, are you crazy? Crazy? Zhang Lianyu was not surprised at the appearance of her master. She was indifferent in the last second, but she lost control of her emotions in the next second, and yelled like a madman, "It's not me who is crazy, but this world." Xiao Hong'ai was dumbfounded. Crazy, really crazy. Zhang Chen was also stunned. At first glance, these words really sounded like crazy. But why is this? He didn't think that his fifth sister was so fragile that she collapsed and fell into madness just because he looked at her body. Get out of the way! Zhang Lianyu's voice returned to indifference, looking directly at Xiao Hong'ai. These two simple words made Xiao Hong'ai's heart tremble. She heard the threat, and also heard killing intent. Unconcealed killing intent. If I don't let you, do you still want to attack me? Xiao Hong'ai couldn't believe it. The answer to her was an ice jade cold sword. The cold sword trembled, absorbing the cold air around it, and blue ice flowers bloomed on it. The ice flowers fell off the cold sword and fell to the ground, gathering at the feet of Zhang Lianyu, and continued to extend, overlap, and bloom, and finally merged into one, forming a huge blue ice flower, holding Zhang Lianyu up. Standing on the ice flower, Zhang Lianyu's beautiful eyes were empty, and countless stars seemed to shine in them. A thick and majestic aura emerged from her body. Under the aura, the world suddenly changed. The green grass and green plants bent down, the ancient branches brushed the poles, the ice and snow melted, and the earth trembled. The low-level disciples had been immersed in the aura, and looking at Zhang Lianyu on the blue ice flower, they had an impulse to worship. Zhang Chen had a feeling. At this moment, Zhang Lianyu looked like a female emperor, looking down on the world. And the blue ice flower under her feet was like the throne of the female emperor. Are you really crazy? You actually unlocked the source of the emperor in your body and intended to self-destruct the emperor source? This is your foundation for proving the emperor. Xiao Hong'ai was so shocked that her face turned pale. Specifically, the actual cultivation talents of Zhang Chen and Zhang Lianyu are very similar. The most direct evidence is that the difference between the two people's cultivation is not big. Before the Yuan Dan was abolished, Zhang Chen was even one realm ahead of Zhang Lianyu. But the reason why Zhang Lianyu can have the appearance of a female emperor is not because of her talent, but because she has a companion emperor source in her body since she was born. The emperor source was unlocked, with a trace of the power of the emperor. Although Xiao Hong'ai can resist the explosion of the emperor source, Ma Wu will be the first to bear the brunt under the emperor's power and will definitely die. The entire lower four realm disciples of the Juyan sect will be annihilated in an instant. Even if it is Yuan Dan realm, without Zhang Chen's talent and foundation, only 1 in 10 can survive. And after that, Zhang Lianyu will also collapse due to the collapse of the emperor source and the collapse of the foundation. Completely reduced to a useless person. Lianyu, stop it. It's not too late now, Xiao Hong'ai shouted anxiously. Zhang Chen watched coldly with a calm expression. Juyan sect? Even if it was destroyed, he didn't have any emotional fluctuations. 9 reincarnations, this sect made him feel no sense of belonging. If the master was not here, the protagonist would come here to become a disciple. In this life, he had already abandoned the sect and left. Under the emperor's power, even the upper four realms cultivators can only protect themselves. Although Zhang Chen is in the Yuan Dan realm, the Fengling Zhang family is a 1,000-year-old family, and he happens to have a treasure in his hand that can resist the emperor's power. Only Xiao Hong'ai knows about this. 9 reincarnations, A group of junior brothers and sisters also gradually learned about it later, but that's a story for later. Anyway, as long as Xuanhuan and himself are safe, he doesn't care even if the entire Julian sect is destroyed. Gradually, the majestic aura is getting stronger and stronger, and the source of the Emperor's way is about to explode. Xuanhuan was so anxious that her mind was in a mess. Seeing that Zhang Lianyu had no intention of stopping, she could only laugh at herself. My master is such a failure. Zhang Chen has been teaching repeatedly and has gradually deviated from the right path. Zhang Lianyu has a promising future, but for some reason, he has fallen into madness. At this moment, he even wants to kill people without hesitation, even at the cost of self-destructing the Emperor's source and becoming a cripple. A sense of powerlessness arises spontaneously. Xuanhuan floated off the ground and came directly to Zhang Lianyu. Tears welled up in her eyes and she said, "Lianyu, I don't know what you have been through. But I can't let my master watch you become a cripple and Julian sect become a sea of blood. I have removed all my defenses. If you insist on doing so, let me go first." After the voice fell, the Emperor's power seemed to stagnate suddenly. But in just a moment, it returned to its original state. Obviously, Zhang Lianyu gave the answer. Even if it means killing her master, she will kill people. At this point, she no longer just wants to kill Ma Wu, but wants to turn the Julian sect into a sea of blood and corpses. It was because he noticed her murderous intention that Xuanhuan took off his protection and stopped it with his life. Boom! Boom! The Emperor's power shook, and the alarm bell on the Julian sect's first peak suddenly sounded. As if it was aware of the sect's crisis, several streams of light came out from the first peak and shot towards them. Seeing this, Xuanhuan shook her head helplessly. It's useless. If Zhang Lianyu is determined to destroy the Emperor's source, even if the ancestor of Julian breaks through, he can only keep several peaks from being affected. Today, Julian sect is afraid of a disaster. As a teacher, I really failed. Xuanhuan accepted her fate and closed her eyes in despair. When I saw the Emperor's power causing the heaven and earth to tremble, and the aura of death enveloped the entire Julian section. Zhang Lianyu! You lunatic! Stop it, Zhang Chen yelled crazily. I don't care even if you destroy the Julian sect, but take a good look. The person in front of you is Master. Master cannot die, at least not in front of me. If you kill her, I will let you be buried with her even if you go to heaven or to earth. Stop. He was really angry. Although I have witnessed Xuanhuan's death more than once, this was all after his death. Lin Feng is the son of destiny, the darling of this world. He killed Xuanhuan and Zhang Chen saved the 9th life, but it always ended in failure. This life. Zhang Chen finally saw the light of day, but he was left to watch Xuanhuan die in front of him. He would never allow such a thing. Hearing this, Xuanhuan turned around and gave Zhang Chen a loving look. Although I, as a disciple, am drifting further and further away on the right path. But at least at this moment, he really cares about himself. Have no choice. How could Zhang Lianyu listen to Zhang Chen? Just as the thought came to an end, Xuanhuan suddenly opened her eyes. Because the rich and unshakable imperial power was slowly dissipating between heaven and earth under Zhang Chen's roar.